All right, guys, welcome back to the Pokémads channel. It's Maddie here, and it is Wednesday, so we're going to be highlighting all of the non-meta decks that did well at recent online tournaments. We do it every Wednesday. Again, the whole point of the series is to highlight deck lists that aren't really considered, top meta deck strategies, and highlight tournaments, which you guys might not know exist, but go on throughout the entire week, right? We're not the only tournament series out there. However, PMPT is returning this upcoming weekend. PMPT number 23, the Paldean Party, $200 cash in the prize pool. You got to go play this weekend. Even though Ranked is out now, or will be out by the time people are watching this video, it's definitely going to be a great tournament. The metagame is changing pretty rapidly, and I'm really interested to see what the results are. So again, link to register down in the description below. All right. We have a lot of different decks to talk about in today's video, so we're just going to dive right into it. The first one is going to be Mr. Bass here from Venezuela at the, I don't know how to say this, Agendamon? I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't say that word. TCG Pocket Open. Again, he's playing Galarian Obstagoon. Now, Galarian Obstagoon came out, I believe it was last expansion, might have been the expansion before. I honestly don't even remember at this point, but yeah, the Galarian Obstagoon stuff with Pierre's is very much a strong strategy, but never really caught momentum because Hydreigon dominated in previous seasons. But he went 5-0 and 1 tie at this tournament, so a very nice little run here. And this is going to be double Chingling, 1 Mega Absol, 1 Darkrai EX, and then of course, double Galarian Obstagoon, double Pierre's, right? So this was one of the, I guess it was like a new single prize strategy that I thought was definitely going to be really strong. I made a video about it. It is essentially absolutely broken. I think that unfortunately, Obstagoon just struggles into Hydreigon specifically, so it just never really got any play. But this season, right now, not a lot of Hydreigon seeing play. And I think that Galarian Obstagoon, quite frankly, would be very strong into multiple different top meta decks this current season. So it's definitely something we have to kind of maybe test. I think that these Wednesday videos are going to get more and more interesting as time goes on, just because there's so many strong cards and strong strategies in Pokemon Pocket. Every season there happens to be, 2, 3, maybe more, decks that become like really popular, right? And people kind of associate that as like the core metagame for that season. But honestly, guys, at this point in Pokemon Pocket, there are so many strong cards and strong decks. I think that Galarian Obstagoon is massively underrated right now. Something that we might need to test, again, with less Hydreigon in the metagame. Chingling here is an inclusion that I really like. You don't really want to lead Darkrai or Mega Absol in this deck, and Galarian Obstagoon isn't very useful going first, right? Because we don't have any ways to accelerate those energies, so we definitely want to go second. Chingling offers a bit of a buffer, a nice lead-off Pokemon to kind of slow the game down, slow your opponent down, of course, get the item lock in, and then we can kind of finish the game with a Galarian Obstagoon. What's really cool about this deck in particular is that Pierre's works here without Obstagoon even being in the active spot. All you need is a Galarian Obstagoon on the bench. Also, keep in mind that Galarian Obstagoon's Merciless Strikes attack does 70 damage, but if your opponent's active Pokemon already has some damage on it, it does 120 damage, which is a really strong attack. But again, Chingling is dealing a little bit of chip damage, so I think that the synergy here works very, very well. We are playing one Darkrai, and I wonder if we really need Darkrai. I know it helps boost the damage, both for Galarian Obstagoon and Absol. Also, Darkrai is really nice to pair with Chingling to win sort of the Chingling battle, because when you ping with Nightmare Aura and attack with Chingling, that's 30 damage, so you can KO your opponent's Chingling. We're also playing Rocky Helmet. This is a deck list that I actually really love right now, and I really think a Galarian Obstagoon deserves to see more play. Again, guys, we are still playing double Research, double Copycat, one Cyrus in the deck, double Candy. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that all of these cards can fit into one deck list, but there's really nothing that I see here that's kind of missing, right? It's got a little bit of everything, and I really do like it. The only thing you could possibly want in a deck like this is maybe some hand disruption, like a red card or a Mars. Again, keep in mind, only 20 cards allowed in decks in Pokemon Pocket, but this is a really awesome deck, something that honestly I would really recommend. And it's crazy to think that a deck list like this, Galarian Obstagoon, could be considered like an off-meta strategy, but it is. Not many people have been playing Obstagoon, but maybe that's going to change here in the future. So very, very cool. Shout out to Mr. Bass from Venezuela, bringing it out and doing quite well. Made it all the way here to top 4. It's actually, he's playing right now as I record this. He's in top 4 against Decidueye, which might be a tough matchup here. But what's crazy is is he actually beat 3 Hydreigons on his way to win this tournament. So I think the Chinglings might be putting in work. Maybe he's cooking here. I was just talking about how Hydreigon beats Obstagoon, and it kind of did, to be fair. But this is really impressive. This is kind of crazy. So actively competing in this tournament here in top 4. Let's see if he can win here against Noob Slybot, which is also a crazy username. But anyway, there you go. Next up here, from the Ice-T Hometown Pocket $50 tournament is Zesty Boat, who was playing Melmetal. And Melmetal is definitely something that I think a lot of people like to play. It saw a decent amount of play back when I think it was Suicune and Greninja was definitely pretty popular. It might have been last season or a season before that. But basically, Melmetal is a very tanky Pokemon in the active spot now, has access to Metal Core Barrier, and that's going to keep this thing alive for a very, very long time. The only downside to Melmetal is that, of course, it really is just a very straight line deck. There's not a lot of diversity in how you play this deck depending on the matchups. You're really just hoping to hit something that's pretty useful here. I like the double Sabrina slow the early game down. Again, you are a little bit reliant on Meltan here to use a mass to generate the energy so that you could possibly attack on turn 2 or turn 3 with Melmetal EX. One non-EX Melmetal, again, just to get around Oricorio, which is also very popular currently in the metagame. Double Ice Pops, double Core Barrier. We even have some Rocky Helmets in here as well. I really do think Melmetal is a strong Pokemon. If we ever get something a little bit, I mean, it's crazy though, because we do have a lot of pretty decent metal type Pokemon. It really makes me think, like, what is metal missing as an archetype? You know what I mean? We have Skarmory EX, we have Metal Core Barrier, we have the new Orthworm, Steelix saw a little bit of play, we have Melmetal. Like, there really are, and we even have Gholdengo, which has been struggling this season, but maybe that's the thing. Maybe all of these metal type Pokemon are just like, you know, pretty decent, but maybe they're not just broken enough, right? Maybe we just need an absolutely broken metal type Pokemon to really put it at the forefront of the metagame, which does kind of scare me. I think that the metal type has a lot of, support going for it, especially with Metal Core Barrier. That makes it a very scary if we ever get a very, very strong metal type Pokemon. Because again, Melmetal, Steelix, Skarmory, like these are decent Pokemon, but they're not like absurdly broken. If we ever get something that is extremely strong, I think it's going to really put it over the edge, similar to how the lightning type was impacted by the inclusion of Bellibolt EX. So we'll see what goes on here, but I like Melmetal. I don't really know what its matchup spreads are this season because it's just not many people are playing it, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty decent into certain things. And again, we are hitting for weakness on Altaria, which is nice. Also, things like Chien-Pao, Baxcalibur, Ninetales, which is seeing a bit of play. So yeah, shout out to Melmetal. Again, went 5-2-1 at this tournament here, so made it all the way into day 2, but lost. Had a really good day 1 though. Actually beat quite a few decks. Lost to Oricorio, which is unfortunate, but beat double Magnezone Bellibolts, beat a normal Turbo Bellibolt, beat Suicune Baxcalibur, beat Articuno in Baxcalibur, and then tied against Mega Altaria. So unfortunately, actually lost. It didn't actually get a win over Altaria this tournament, but a very, very cool deck list. Shout out to Melmetal. Wanted to highlight it because somebody played it this week and did pretty well. Next up, at the Umbreon 99's Tuesday Showdown is going to be Golfer MT from the United States. Went 8-2, so a very nice run here playing Giratina EX with Galarian Cursola, and this is a really cool deck list. So again, things like this pop up sometimes. I can't really, I say it every week, there are so many strong Pokemon in Pokemon Pocket that just don't really like see enough play. It's really crazy, and that's why the Wednesday video series is quickly sort of becoming one of my favorites, quite frankly. And this is going to be a very interesting deck. We have the Meloetta here to kind of pull Psychic Pokemon out of our deck list. We have Protective Poncho, which I assume is probably going to be used to keep Giratina safe while it kind of stacks up energy on the bench. And then we have Galarian Cursola. So I kind of imagine here that Galarian Cursola is just sort of sitting there to not only soak up damage, but potentially take KOs. If you don't know what this Galarian Cursola card is, basically whenever it gets attacked by, or gets KO'd by your opponent's active Pokemon, your opponent flips a coin, and if it's heads, then you actually KO the opponent's Pokemon. It's a really kind of broken ability, but it's never really been paired with anything to like a significant meta, meta degree. Like it hasn't really ever been like a top tier meta card, but this is a deck that I think could be pretty decent with it. Again, Protective Poncho, the setup Giratina to kind of sweep in the late game, Rocky Helmet combined with Cursola, and maybe even Giratina to deal some additional damage. It's a deck that can certainly win. It is a coin flip deck, which does scare me a little bit, but 8-2 is a very, very good record at a pretty large tournament, I will say. Made it all the way to top 32, lost to Dark Greninja, which is a little bit sad for sure, but beat basically all like a ton of different meta decks in day 1. Actually only went 7-1, which is a crazy record, but beat Houndstone, did lose to Hydreigon, which is unfortunate. Beat Venusaur, beat Kangaskhan, beat Dark Greninja, beat Altaria, beat Magnezone, Bellibolt, beat Altaria Greninja here in day 2. So beat almost every single top meta deck in the game right now, which is kind of crazy. So, you know, a deck list like this, again, I know it's RNG, it's a bit of a coin flip, but I think this is a deck that, like, things like this could be really, really good. We're kind of lucky that this isn't how, like, the metagame just sort of, you know, progresses in these seasons, because this would be very annoying if, like, most of the tournament was playing it. But, you know, again, really, really strong cards here. I think Giratina is also still one of the best cards in the entire game. It's crazy. It's been power crept like a little bit, but things like Giratina, things like Darkrai EX still see a lot of play. These are just like fundamentally incredibly strong cards. Meloetta being used, I think, to great effect here to kind of find these psychic Pokemon, and then you can free retreat with Peculiar Plaza, get into Galarian Cursola, start Broken Space Bellowing, and, you know, there you are. You know, it's kind of cool. So, yeah, definitely not a bad deck whatsoever. Maybe we split energies here too, and maybe get an attack off with like the second Cursola as well. Honestly, who knows? I've never played this deck list. I don't use Galarian Cursola a lot, but this is something that definitely intrigues me. Anyway, shout out to Golfer MT, 8-2. 8-2 at a pretty large tournament with Galarian Cursola, which is pretty cool. I need water. Hold on. All right. We're dehydrated today. We never cut out the water drinks in the videos. Okay, next up here is going to be Jixu from the Philippines. Went 5-3, so not like the most insane record at the Uwu tournament here. This is a really fun deck. This is Silvally with Ditto and Magnezone and Magnemite. So I believe this is sort of a play on version of when people are allowed. Okay, it doesn't fit here, but you can see we're also playing one Pokeball. This is one of those strategies that people try to play sometimes in tournaments that don't require you to submit an energy type when you submit your deck list. We've actually seen this be pretty effective in strategies before. And Ditto here in Magnezone and Silvally, these are all cards that can be used with any energy type along with Chingling, right? So that's the whole concept with this deck, is that Ditto here, again, like if you know you're going up against like you know, your opponent plays water type Pokemon, then you can just run water type energies, right? And if you're playing up against a fire deck, you can play fire type energies. So the whole concept here is to maybe stall with Chingling. You know, Magnezone's going to set itself up here with Volt Charge on Magneton, and then we can just attach whatever energy types our opponent's Pokemon are using for that battle, for that match, onto Ditto, and then we can copy one of our opponent's attacks and use it. So it's definitely a really fun strategy. This is kind of the only thing in the game that is definitely can take advantage of like an open energy type deck list submission tournament. At our PNPT tournaments, we do require players to play the same amount of energies. There's other reasons for this. We've talked about this in the past. There are some decks like Oricorio decks with Greninja, like maybe if they know Oricorio isn't going to be very useful, then they can just swap to maybe some water energies to utilize Greninja as an attacker. Like there's so many different like scenarios where if you kind of leave the energy types open for the tournament, it can kind of be exploited a little bit for those players' advantages if they're playing certain decks, which is why we always have people make sure they have to submit the energy type for their deck throughout the entire tournament, and they can't change it. But again, like Ditto is one of those strategies in the game where like having the ability to kind of know what your opponent's playing and then play the correct energy type gives you an advantage. It's like kind of cheating, but it's kind of not. Like in this deck list, it's sort of part of the strategy, but it's definitely pretty cool. Like otherwise, Ditto is just not a useful Pokemon at all. Yeah, very creative deck list. Playing a ton of one-ofs. One of Silvally, one Ditto, one Chingling, one Copycat, Lycia, Cyrus, Mars, Gladion, Sabrina, Clement, like one Pokeball. It's kind of crazy. This entire deck's playing one-ups, but yeah, definitely a unique deck list for sure. And I wanted to highlight it, you know, because it's, again, something that's definitely pretty unique in Pokemon Pocket. Not something we really see too often, but definitely pretty cool. Shout out to Jixu from the Philippines, busting out the Ditto, going 8-3 at a tournament here. Lost to Altaria, and then lost to Houndstone, Gourgeist, which also kind of makes sense. But yeah, very, very cool. Like, see here, he was able to copy certain attacks. Like, he was able to copy, like, Mewtwo's attack here, or copy Blaziken's attack, or Suicune. Like, the Ditto can be really strong. It's just kind of niche, you know? It's kind of funny. Anyway, that was probably a random part of the video, but I wanted to highlight it, you know? Because, like, what is, you know? I don't know. It's kind of cool, right? Not applicable to anything other than tournaments that have open energy types in their deck list submission, but anyway. Next up is Magma the Vice from Germany at the Breakfast Club, a weekly standard. Went 10-2-1. Quite frankly, this player literally won this tournament playing Giratina Darkrai. So I know Giratina Darkrai is a very commonly known deck list. It really doesn't see much play these days, but I know taking a look at this run here, Giratina Darkrai kind of swept through everything in the tournament. Lost to a Belly Bolt, Turbo Belly Bolt, lost to a Dark Greninja, but again, like beat basically everything that's relevant in the metagame right now. Beat Ninetales, Melmetal, Magbolt, Suicune, beat Jolteon, Crobat, Skarmory, Hydreigon, Dark Greninja. This Giratina player kind of absolutely swept here. So shout out to Magma the Vice getting first place at a pretty large tournament with Giratina Darkrai. Let's take a look at the deck list here. And, you know, just sort of an updated rendition, I suppose, of Giratina Darkrai. If anybody was interested in still playing Giratina Darkrai, I think this is a very, very quality list. Kind of a one-of version of the deck list, right? Plaza here to give Indeedee, Giratina free retreat. Starting planes to then give them all increased HP if we don't need to retreat anymore. We have access to Cyrus, Guzma, Mars, Red, Sabrina. Double helmets and cape is crazy. No Protect a Poncho in here is a little sketchy. And then a Lucky Ice Pop. So, again, guys, like Giratina Darkrai doesn't see a ton of play right now. It's not like the most popular deck in the entire game, but this is definitely if I was going to play Giratina Darkrai, I would probably play something like this. Starting Plains is a crazy card for Darktina. It really is. Like starting Plains plus Giant Cape brings Giratina up to 190 HP, which is effectively ridiculous, especially with Indeedee heals and Lucky Ice Pop. Like this is a deck that definitely is strong. Yet another deck that I think honestly has just sort of fallen to the wayside with a bunch of new cards that people choose to play every season. But there's so many strong decks in Pokemon Pocket. It really is insane how much parity we have. And I know, like, the thing that happens is when decks are popular, they have a greater chance of doing well because more people are playing them. And then the more they do well, the more people want to play them. So it kind of snowballs a little bit, honestly. But, the reality is that you could play so many different decks in Pokemon Pocket and win a tournament on any given day. I mean, I don't think Giratina Darkrai is considered a weak deck whatsoever. So there it is. Giratina Darkrai, shout out here to Magma the Vice, 10-2-1, first place with Darktina. You'd love to see it. Next up is going to be Rattata from the Breakfast Club Weekly Standard, playing 18 Trainer Skarmory EX. Another deck list that, quite frankly, here, and he did lose to Magma the Vice here in top 8, which again does kind of make sense. You're going to lose to Oricorio. And it's crazy here that he actually, I think, beat this one Magnezone Belly Bolt deck. Maybe they weren't playing Oricorio. Lost to Belly Bolt Zeraora, who probably also was playing an Oricorio. He actually lost his first round because he just showed up late, I guess, but stormed his way all the way into top 8 playing 18 Trainer Skarmory. And yet again, we talked about Melmetal. Skarmory is not a bad card, like, at all. Going second, this thing is very, very dangerous. We're playing double Sabrina and Repel to kind of slow our opponent down in the early game. Jasmine plus Metal Core Barrier plus Ice Pops makes it almost impossible to get through Skarmory. It really is one of the more annoying things in the entire game. 18 trainer decks used to see more play in the past, but we have so many strong trainer cards in the game now, especially for the metal type and all of the support that Skarmory specifically has. Like, Jasmine only works for Skarmory, and I think it works for Steelix, but not Steelix EX, luckily, or Mega Steelix. So, Jasmine is specifically here for Skarmory. So when you combine that and compound that with Metal Core Barrier and Lucky Ice Pop, like, all of a sudden you just have a deck that is so annoying to deal with. I think that as far as 18 trainer decks go, Skarmory might be kind of the best right now. And again, no way to get around Oricorio, quite frankly, but also we might be able to just tie a match into Oricorio. I mean, technically Oricorio always plays like other attacking Pokemon, so that is somewhat relevant. What I do love about Skarmory EX is that it's weak to fire. It's not actually weak to lightning, which is always really cool when, like, you see that. Like, it kind of makes sense, but I know, like, I would not be surprised if Skarmory had a lightning weakness, because I think the non-EX Skarmory does. But anyway, a very, very fun deck. I'm not recommending you play this, because I don't want to match up against anybody playing this deck ever, because it would be very frustrating. But honestly, guys, like, as far as, metal type decks go and 18 trainer decks go, this is a very, very strong choice. 18 trainer Skarmory is absolutely insane. That's crazy. Shout out to Rattata. Shout out to him, man. Next up is going to be a Gholdengo list. So Gholdengo actually did pretty well at a tournament this week. This is Vale Kemp from Italy playing Probopass. Probopass Gholdengo EX. This is one of those things where, we've seen the data on Gholdengo. Honestly, like, let's take a look at the matchups real quick. So, okay. So played a bunch of, kind of non-top tier meta stuff. Lost to Altaria Gourgeist, lost to Suicune Excalibur twice, unfortunately, but kind of beat everything else here. Beat a Melmetal, beat a Swampert and stuff. Beat actually a few Altaria decks, which is pretty cool. Which also does kind of make sense that Gholdengo would actually be pretty good into Altaria specifically, but we've seen the data on Gholdengo. This is a deck that's playing Orthworm and playing Probopass. This is the Metallic Turbo Probopass, which really isn't, a bad card whatsoever. I kind of like the strategy here of kind of going Orthworm and then going into Probopass. I feel like that's pretty cool. We are playing Protective Poncho, which, you have to play with Gholdengo. 1 Steel Apron and then 2 Metalcore Barrier. We even have a May in this deck, which I just really like. So, this is definitely one of the more unique Gholdengo lists that we've seen. Gholdengo is not a bad Pokemon. I just think that in general, the strategy is determined by RNG, which is why we see the average win rate for Gholdengo always be pretty low. But most Gholdengo decks have been playing with Dialga, most of them playing just with solo Orthworm. So here is sort of an example of a Gholdengo deck that might just be a little bit different, right? I mean, Probopass generates double steel energy, so if you can use Orthworm to then go into Probopass, keep it alive with Metalcore Barrier, by the time you go into Gholdengo, you might have enough energies to kind of just win the game in one attack. So definitely not a terrible strategy. You definitely need Protective Poncho. I think this entire stuff was a bit more relevant maybe when Suicune and Excalibur were seeing more play, but yeah, I mean, again, like Greninja stuff is going to mess you up, especially if they have Guzma, but you're playing your own Guzma. I like this deck. I do like Gholdengo. It's definitely fun. It's just hard for me to really consider Gholdengo to be like a real meta strategy at this point in the season, but I mean, 8-3 is a good record. This is sort of a new Gholdengo deck, so, maybe there's something to this, I don't know. Any Gholdengo enjoyers out there, test this out. Let me know, how it performs, how it feels. Might be better than the other Gholdengo decks that we've been seeing in the last, I guess, for the first 2 weeks of the season. I don't know. Gholdengo is not something I really play myself much or test out myself much, but definitely an interesting strategy for Gholdengo. But anyway, shout out to Veilcamp. Let me know what you guys think. Try this out. Try all of these decks out and let me know what works for you, what doesn't. Again, like these are just one example. Like these are decks that did well like one time, and I think in tournaments especially, like any deck can kind of do well in one tournament, but we oftentimes look at like meta shares and average win rates to judge like the overall effectiveness of a deck throughout a larger sample size. So like one tournament, like kind of a lot of different decks could do well in one tournament. This video is sort of an example of that, but they might not be the most consistent thing in the world, and I think Gholdengo is probably a pretty good example of that, but we'll see. Next up at the Blazing Inferno Highlights Blazing Inferno tournament is Draco Z 7-2 playing Crobat EX. Yet another very, very strong card that kind of deserves to see a little bit more play. It's just tough because there's so many strong cards in Pokemon Pocket. This player here went 5-1 in day 1 here, lost to Magnezone Belly Bolt, beat Umbreon, beat a Porygon Z Teal Mask Ogerpon deck, and then lost to Altaria Gourgeist, but beat a couple Hydreigons, beat Dark Greninja, beat Suicune Excalibur, beat Altaria Greninja, so beat a lot of strong meta decks in day 1, and then unfortunately lost to Altaria Gourgeist. But, Crobat, again, just a really strong card. It really is. When you pair it with Nihilego, the 70 damage Venomous Slash attack really kind of adds up. Like, if you have double Nihilego on the bench, this adds to be a ton of damage. The thing about Poison, when you're able to deal the damage, and then affect Poison on your turn, you get effectively an additional turn of Poison, which is really strong. So like we hit for 70, but after we attack, we poison our opponent, and it's still our turn until the end of our turn, which means that our opponent is actually taking 100 damage total on our turn. But once they end their turn, unless they evolve or get rid of the status condition or retreat, then they're taking another 30 damage at the end of their turn because of double Nihilego. So that's effectively 130 damage for 1 energy on Crobat, plus the Darkrai ping. You can kind of 2-hit KO almost anything in the entire game, or 1-hit KO anything in the entire game. So I really think Crobat is really strong. This entire package is pretty relevant. Yeah, I feel pretty strongly that Crobat's a good card, and it always has been. Never really been a top tier strategy, but has always been sort of a deck that can kind of be built very similarly to Hydreigon, but plays and has different matchup spreads to Hydreigon. So it's sort of been an alternate deck to Hydreigon decks. No Absol in here, but I don't think you really need it. Playing double Darkrai, I just noticed, is a little bit scary. I don't really know why we're playing double Darkrai in the deck list, but interesting nonetheless. So there you go, Crobat EX, and I love Crobat, so whenever it does well, I want to highlight it. Shout out Draco Z 7-2 from the United States. Love Crobat. Next up is going to be Harian from Highlights Blazing Inferno as well. Went 6-1-1. Let's take a look at the matches here. Made top 32, lost to Altaria Gourgeist as well. Had a bye in the first round, but beat a lot of strong meta decks in day 1. And this is going to be a very different way to play Magnezone. This is with a Lowland Raichu. So this is going to be one of those like toolbox Magnezone decks that isn't playing Oricorio, not playing Belly Bowl, right? So I know Magnezone's very, very common, very typical, but this is definitely sort of an off-meta version. We are playing actually the Surge Surfer Thunder Spear Alolan Raichu with Galvantula Elemental Switch as well into the deck list. Let's take a look at this Raichu here. So if the Stadium's in play, this Pokemon has free retreat. Its attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's basically a way to like snipe the bench, which is really cool. Just one of Raichu in the deck list is kind of interesting. And then we have the Galvantula as well to kind of slow our opponent down, lock them in the active with Electric Shock and the Paralysis. And then, of course, Magnezone to do Magnezone things here. What's cool about this deck is that Pikachu and Joltik are actually pretty strong leadoff options. Joltik here has a chance to paralyze, and then Pikachu can kind of snipe your opponent's bench Pokemon, which does lead up into a late game Magnezone or Galvantula play with Cyrus. So, you know, just another example that the Magnezone, like Magnezone's a very splashable card and kind of really does kind of carry archetypes. Like Mirror Shot is effectively one of the more broken things in the entire game. I don't think like Magnezone will be relevant for a very, very long time unless something in the metagame like specifically hard counters it, because Mirror Shot is just so good. And again, as we see here, we get some bench damage, we have Paralysis Lock, we have Elemental Switch, a lot of things going for this deck list. We even have a Clement here, which again, we are typically just using to search for Magneton, but this is a deck that's probably a bit more consistent and a bit more flexible than you might imagine. And what I really like about it is we're not even playing Heliolisk, we're not playing Oricorio, we're not playing Belly Bolt, and yet again, this deck still managed to do well 6-1-1. So again, so many strong cards in Pokemon Pocket. Always the most popular stuff is what people are going to look at. But a really great example of how you can take the Magnezone package and play it in a way that just nobody else is playing but still be successful, which I love. Again, just a really great example of why I like to make this video every Wednesday, because I love to highlight players that are creative and again, you know, bring off-meta strategies, non-meta decks to tournaments and do well. It really does make me super happy. Tournaments are a really fun way to kind of play these decks. If you hop into ranked battles, sure, you can play a couple of games, but it's a little bit less exciting than getting to a tournament, maybe getting a little lucky with a, you know, an off-meta deck and making it far into the tournament. You kind of impact the metagame when you do that, and it's definitely really cool because the results are able to be shown. You know what I mean? I love ranked. I recommend anybody play ranked, but playing in tournaments is really fun because I get to see the results, I get to see the deck lists, and I get to highlight them on the channel. So again, massive shout out to Harrion and his really cool Magnezone deck. Lastly is going to be Annihilape and Tyrantrum at the Storms Saturday late night tournament here. Rizaya from Puerto Rico, 5-3, so not the most insane record in the world, but probably the best performance we've seen this season of Tyrantrum, which is a very scary Pokemon, quite frankly. Played a lot of different lightning type decks. Belly Bolt Greninja's a crazy deck. Lost to Dark Greninja, and lost to Dark Greninja twice actually, and then lost to Magnezone Belly Bolt, which is unfortunate. But Tyrantrum and Annihilape actually seemingly go pretty well together because we're playing fossil Pokemon, you can never actually lead off with Tyrantrum or Jaw Fossil. So you're guaranteed to lead Mankey. And we're actually playing Focus Fist and the Fight Back Primeape, not the one that just does 50 damage. And double Annihilate with double rare candy. So the concept of this deck realistically is to just go like aggro face with you know, the Annihilate line later in the game, and then once these go down, we just have a Tyrantrum that's ready to maybe one-hit KO anything in the game. If you don't know what this card does, if you have fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent, this attack does 80 more damage, which means it does 180, but it's a 3 energy attack cost, right? Which is kind of high. We don't really have any fighting energy ramp in the game, so it's tough to get Tyrantrum set up. You have to play it with things that either cost 0 energies or play it with things that have low energy attack costs like Annihilape. So that's why I really like this deck. Yet again, just a really strong Pokemon, but I think fossil Pokemon have kind of struggled ever since Chingling came into the metagame because Chingling stop you from actually being able to play the Jaw Fossil onto your bench because it's an item card until you play it. Yeah, so that's like a part of the thing that's a little bit sketchy about Tyrantrum here, but it is fighting type. Lightning type is very popular in the metagame right now, so there's definitely maybe some chance for, you know, fighting type decks to be a little bit more popular. We've seen some Mega Lopunny, we've seen Annihilate with Lopunny and stuff, but really fighting is probably, and I'm going to say this confidently, I think fighting, other than maybe the dragon type, of course, but that's on its own category, I think that fighting type is probably the worst type ever in Pokemon Pocket. Dragon would take the cake, but the thing with dragon type is that there's no dragon energy, which is why dragon type's bad. So I don't even classify dragon as like an actual type. Fighting is the by far the worst real type in Pokemon Pocket. They just refuse to give the fighting type anything super substantial, and I don't really know why that is. It's been so long since we've had like a real relevant fighting type deck in the game. Like Garchomp was somewhat relevant way back, and then of course Rampardo Silvally was like the only true relevant fighting type deck, which is just crazy. to say that, but that's the reality. So I don't know. Maybe next set we'll get like Mega Lucario. I've been asking for Mega Lucario for quite some time here, but who knows? Who really knows? 5-3. I know it's not the most incredible record, but it is fighting type. It is Tyrantrum, so I wanted to give it a shout out. Shout out to Rizaya from Puerto Rico for playing this deck list in a tournament. Again, making it into top 16, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, lost to Magnezone Belly Bolt, but hey, sometimes that happens, you know? Sometimes you can't really help that from happening. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Tons of awesome deck lists today. Shout out to all of these players. Shout out to all of these tournaments. Don't forget, you know, play in tournaments throughout the week. But if you're looking to compete in a Pokemon Pocket tournament on Saturday, I would heavily recommend that you play in the PMPT tournament series. Again, $200 cash in the prize pool this weekend. Paldean party here. It's going to be a lot of fun. No cards are banned at our tournament. It's going to be just a great time. So take a break from ranked battles, hop into the tournament, see if you can make it far. Maybe play an off meta deck. Who knows? You know, maybe you choose to play one of the decks in this video. Hopefully you do well. We'll see. Quite frankly, I don't know. You know, who knows? But that's the video today, guys. Let's wrap this up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. By the way, we're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. I appreciate all of the support. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and then also we'll see you guys Friday. I'm going to have to record Friday's video tomorrow because I'm going to be leaving for vacation Friday. Don't worry, the tournament is still going on, and we will still have a live stream for the tournament this weekend. But yeah, I will not be here this weekend myself. So shout out to the judge team, the caster team, the moderator teams for running the tournament, making it all happen. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later. And yeah.